So, are you interested in making your home more eco? Are you keen to protect the planet? Are you really keen to live a healthier lifestyle with less toxins and protect yourself and your family from those toxins? So this is part of an eco home series that I'm making, and today we're going to be focusing on the topic of food. And food, obviously, the healthier you are is going to the better you'll feel, and food has a massive impact on how healthy you are. So we're going to dive into that today. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below and I will get back to you. I'll pick them up and answer any questions that you have. Let me tell you who I am first. If you don't know me, I'm Jane. I'm a chartered architect and I'm the founding director of iArchitect. I specialise in working on older property, historic property, and I am also a Green Register listed eco refurbisher. So I incorporate innovative eco design techniques into my design work. So I've got a whole list of tips to go through to help you make your home more eco-friendly and around the topic of food. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have, so please leave them in the comments below. So to start off with, one of the best ways that you can eat more healthily is to grow your own. By growing your own, you can choose the types of fruit and vegetables that you really enjoy, and you can try different vegetables and different fruit that is not so commercially available and perhaps has really unusual and different tastes that you may prefer to the standard gala apples or your average carrot in the supermarket. So where you may struggle with growing your own, obviously you need to have some green fingers, but those all the sort of growing techniques, all the gardening techniques, that's not what I'm covering. But you know, there's lots of places you can go to get information to help you with those sorts of skills. But where you may be struggling is in having space to grow your own. So if you only have a small garden or a patio, then obviously you can get big pots to grow potatoes and so on, in grow bags for tomatoes. And you can grow lots of things actually, even in a very small space. If you're thinking maybe you've got a bigger garden, but you've got a shed in your garden, or you're planning an extension and you are not going to have very much space, you want to have a garden that's more about flowers to look at, and you don't really think you've got enough space for a veg plot, then what you could do is, if you've got a big shed or on a flat roof extension, you could go for a green roof. And depending on the type of green roof that you go for, you're able to grow quite a lot of different plants on a green roof. There are many different ways to do green roofs. Things like strawberries that are not very deep rooted are quite easy to grow in a lot of places. But there are so many different plants that you can grow, and there are so many different ways to build a green roof. You can get even trees on some green roofs. So there is so much scope to do that. If you're not doing that and you actually haven't got the space for an extension or a shed, then another option that you have is to grow vertically. So you can create a wall of pots, and so your plants are actually vertically stacked on top of each other, and they'll be slightly tilted, and you can even set up automatic irrigation systems and perhaps capturing rainwater from your roof, and it will automatically pump out and water your plants, so you don't have to worry about that. You can also recycle the grey water from your shower to do the same thing. So you're there, that's, you know, reduce, reuse, recycle. These are different ways that you can incorporate those sorts of philosophies into your home and help you have a healthier lifestyle with food that you've grown yourself at home. Another thing that you can do is compost. So obviously there is waste that comes from food. There's food scraps in the kitchen, and you can compost a lot of those, particularly if they're plant-based. If they're meat and fish-based, then or dairy, then you're better off putting them in your green bin. But all plant-based things, you can put them all in a compost. You can get wormeries and different types of fancy compost that can deal with more variety. You just need to have a small amount of space for those. They don't take up a huge amount of space. You can also go to the extent of installing a composting toilet. If you have a particularly big garden, it could be a good idea to have a toilet in the garden, especially if you enjoy entertaining or you really enjoy gardening. You don't want to have to be going back into the house with taking off your muddy boots to be able to go to the loo. You can build yourself a composting toilet in the garden, and then compost itself can be reused on your garden to help your plants and your flowers grow better. Another way to go be more eco with your food is to try to buy as much as possible without plastic. Now, obviously, avoiding getting a plastic bag at the checkout is quite an easy thing to do, and most people are achieving that regularly. Maybe the occasion forgetting to take your bag along, but most of the time, I imagine if you're interested in saving the planet, then not buying a plastic bag at checkout is quite an easy thing for you to do. But as you're going around the supermarket, if you're shopping at a supermarket, then buying loose fruit and vegetables as much as possible, and trying to avoid buying things in plastic will also improve your impact on the environment. And if you do end up having some plastic waste, then you can look at creating some eco bricks. There is lots of information about eco bricks online, so I suggest you Google it. But you can then use eco bricks to build raised beds in your garden, or even potentially build yourself a secure bike shed or a tool shed in your garden, depending on how much space you have and how many eco bricks you manage to make. Another thing that you can do to help reduce the carbon impact that you have is to minimize your consumption of certain foods. So I'm not saying that you have to stop eating anything, but if you're interested in reducing your carbon footprint, then you can look to reduce certain foods as much as possible. You can still have them, but have them in minimum quantities. And these are the four to focus on reducing or eliminating, if you wish, are beef, lamb, cheese and pork. Those are the first four that you should try to reduce or eliminate from your diet to reduce your carbon footprint. Another thing that you can look to do is to do some research into the impact of certain ingredients on the environment. Things like palm oil, which many people now are aware of, is really endangering orangutan population. So if you can look out for food that does not contain palm oil, I know it's really difficult to do. If you go around almost any supermarket and read the ingredients list for almost any product, you're likely to find palm oil in there. Even if you think there's not going to be any oil in there at all, chances are you'll find some palm oil in there. So it can be quite a tricky one to do, but who doesn't love an orangutan? They're so beautiful. They're big red fluffy coats. If you're interested in protecting wildlife like orangutan that are endangered. Sorry, I've lost this. Where has it gone? Here we go. If you're keen to protect orangutans and other kinds of wildlife, then read the ingredients list, educate yourself on those ingredients and what they are, and try to avoid things like palm oil. Next thing you can do is to buy locally grown food. So if it's being grown locally, okay, might not be you might not have grown it yourself, but maybe it's been grown within a mile or within 5 miles of where you live, then it's less likely to have had so much transport, and transport creates a massive carbon footprint. So the least amount of travelling your food has had to do to get from the ground to your plate, the better. I mean, the last thing you want to be doing, okay, might be really fine to buy organic vegetables, but if it's been flown over from the other side of the world, it's not really very eco. So it's much better to buy things that are in season and grown locally, and that's going to be healthier for you. You're going to have more nutrients in there, and it's going to have less impact on the environment. Again, another option you've got is to grow plants indoors. So if you haven't got external space, that doesn't mean that you can't grow your own. You still have so many opportunities to grow your own, and some of the easiest things you can do are grow herbs on your windowsill in pots. And you know, this is really a good way of getting much more flavour into your food, and it saves you money as well, actually, because herbs can be quite expensive to buy. So you can do that on your windowsill if you don't have any space outside to do that. And then finally, by improving the biodiversity, and by that I mean having a greater mix of different types of fruit, vegetables and other plants and flowers in your garden or in your outside space, on your green roof, in your vertical green wall, wherever that may be, maybe in the tree pit, in the streets just in front of your house. If you can add more different varieties of plants into those spaces, then you're going to benefit the whole of the environment. You're going to, starting from the smaller insects and bees, especially pollinators. Without pollinators, we would all, you know, go extinct pretty quickly, because you need pollinators to be able to create fruit and vegetables. Without them, we wouldn't have apples, and without those, without food, all the animals, you know, even if you're a meat eater and you're sort of don't like this whole a vegetarian or vegan slant on things, you're not interested in that, you still would not be able to survive, because the animals that you want to eat would not be able to survive without the fruit and vegetables. So it's so important to protect the whole ecosystem, and starting off with very small insects and pollinators and the bees especially. So by planting more diversity of flowers, etc., in your garden, in your space around you, then you can really benefit and protect, you know, make a more sustainable life going forwards. I hope that this has been interesting. I know that it's not hugely architectural, but there are a few architectural tips in there that I hope are interesting to you, and you could potentially incorporate those into your next home improvement project. If you are looking at improving your home and perhaps looking at extending or reconfiguring your home in some way, then I am happy to help you with that. You can get a copy of the Design Your Home checklist, and I will leave a link in the description of this video above, and you can then get that copy of that, and that will help you make the fundamental decisions that you need to make for your home project, so that you can make your project happen as quickly as possible and as successfully as possible. If you're interested in that, you can download that and get hold of a copy, and I look forward to helping you with your home project. Bye for now. I can't get this to stop.